The Bell P-39 Airacobra was an American single-seat fighter that saw mixed success during World War II. When America first entered the conflict, the P-39 was its primary land-based fighter, second to the P-40 Warhawk. After its first flight in 1939, the Airacobra went through various revisions before it officially entered service in 1941. Not all of these changes were for the better. The most glaring issue with the production P-39 was its lack of a turbocharger. The prototype had a turbocharger, allowing it to operate at high altitudes and reach a top speed of 390 miles per hour, but NACA deemed this unnecessary after its review. America's pre-war battle doctrine assumed that fighters would largely engage at short ranges and low altitudes, and early design requirements were set accordingly. As a result, the P-39 was fitted with a non-turbocharged Allison V12 engine that generated about 1,200 horsepower. Depending on altitude and model, it could still achieve a top speed of nearly 400 miles per hour, but it achieved a less impressive 368 miles per hour in the early P-39D. The P-39 capitalized on its low-altitude performance and was fitted with short wings that reduced its climb rate but allowed it to make sharper turns. The unusual placement of the engine behind the pilot further increased maneuverability, but this also added a tendency for the plane to stall during tight turns. Unorthodox design is also seen in the use of tricycle landing gear instead of the traditional tail dragger, as well as car-style doors instead of a sliding canopy. The P-39 also uniquely featured a 37mm cannon that fired through the propeller hub. The most well-armed variants also sported two 50 cal machine guns in the nose and another two per wing, giving the P-39 some serious firepower. Revisions of the P-39 also added armor and self-sealing fuel tanks, and the placement of the engine behind the pilot rendered additional rear protection. The P-39 saw plenty of service in the Pacific and the Mediterranean, but it was on the Eastern Front with the Russians that it was the most well-received. Aerial combat on the Eastern Front was done at lower altitudes, making the P-39 more viable, and the Soviets appreciated its durability and firepower. Of the 9,588 Airacobras produced, nearly half were sent to the Russians, and they even flew its successor, the P-63 King Cobra, which was dismissed by the US. The P-39 may not have lived up to its initial intention as an interceptor, but it found its place in the war and was still an effective combat plane. And that is the P-39 Airacobra in a nutshell.